You're listening to The Dean's List with Gabe Dean and Dan Flanick.
Welcome to this returning episode of The Dean's List, now hosted on brand new Combat Life Network. I'm here with Bernardo Faria, Mike Zenga, and Arsen Alexandrian. Just to give some background on these guys that I'm with, Bernardo is a 5-time world champion, first place IBJJF World Championship in 2010, 2013, and 2015 in Jiu-Jitsu. Just in small accomplishments there. Then we got Mike Zenga, black belt in Jiu-Jitsu and Judo out of Boston, the Boston, Massachusetts area. Man behind the scenes with BJJ Fanatics, an organizer who pulls people together to deliver quite the service that we're going to talk about in a short time. And then we got Arsen, who is the director of sports for Nuway Combat. Arsen's background, he's a 2-time Armenian national team member in wrestling. He wrestled for Michigan State University, 3-time junior national All-American in high school. Now, you guys have developed a strategic partnership here that I think, actually I know once word gets out, is going to change the landscape of the entire combat sports industry. But before I get into that, I kind of want to dive into the history of BJJ Fanatics, which launched in 2014. And now arguably the largest jiu-jitsu content organization in the world. Where did this start and how did it come together?
Yeah, should I go, Michael, or you go? Yeah, so I met Michael in 2014. He had done a few DVDs about jiu-jitsu with some other athletes, and then he invited me to make a DVD, but I had an agreement with another company, so I ended up not making it. But he used to play in jiu-jitsu the same game that I used to play. That was like half guard and pressure passing when we were on top. And then he invited me to teach a jiu-jitsu seminar in Boston. And he was in charge to organize and this and that, even though he had no jiu-jitsu school. And so I came here, I met him, and we became like great friends. And then since then, we started talking like almost every day. He would call me and ask jiu-jitsu questions, and I would call him and ask business questions. So that's how the friendship started. And he was the one kind of like pushing me to think more about business, about how to promote myself, because he told me that the only reason that he knew who I was not even because I was a jiu-jitsu world champion, was just because he watched one of my matches on YouTube, and then he started to get to know who I was, and then he invited me to make this DVD, to teach a seminar, and blah blah blah. So then, since then, I started thinking like, how can I promote myself better, right? So I would call him and say, what do you think I should do? And he was like, I think you should do Facebook ads, do YouTube videos. And then I started doing, and I started getting results. So at that time, I was making a living teaching jiu-jitsu clinics, jiu-jitsu seminars. And more people started inviting me for jiu-jitsu seminars, for tournaments, for this, for that. So then I started seeing like a big opportunity there. Like I was like, man, there's a whole new world in the internet itself. So then we started talking like every day about this, about jiu-jitsu, about half guard, about pressure passing. And then he came out with the idea to create one website that at that time we would only sell one product per day. And that's kind of how we started. And then from there, we built BJJ Fanatics, which was a much bigger website, like a marketplace. And then from there, we built other websites like Fanatic Wrestling and this and that. So it was just like a great friendship that became business, and now it's business and friendship. So I think, and now we are meeting you guys, which we have higher expectations, because I think there's a lot of synergy on what we do. Like Nuway company has you, Gabe, who is like a huge star on wrestling, and so I think there's a ton of synergy, and we hope we can make something big here for the jiu-jitsu tournaments too.
And Mike, from your perspective, pretty much same story. I mean, tell me about it.
Yeah, I think so. I I was into jiu-jitsu, and I was doing this on the side. So I have a couple businesses, which I still have, which so I own some schools. So I have a school in Massachusetts where we do gun safety to get to get approved to get your gun license. You have a required class. I have a real estate school and also a construction school. And so I was marketing those online, nothing to the point where we were doing it now, but that's how I was kind of making my living. And so I said, I started messing around with making some jiu-jitsu DVDs. And when I say DVDs, I mean DVDs. That's how we deliver them. And so it was more of a hobby. I mean, by the time, because in the business, you need a little bit of scale to be able to work that out. Like if you want to try to make one video and make some money, it's going to be hard. So I made a few of them, but it was more done out of my love for the sport. I mean, I'm a black belt, and I love to compete. I love to get better. I love to try to win in the gym. I don't always do, but I try hard. And so so Bernardo was kind of showed up on the radar. And again, he was this tough Brazilian guy. I had heard of his name, but I had no idea what he did. But I remember seeing there's this guy online, and I'm kind of friendly with him now, so I'll say his name. His name is DJ Jackson. He's this crazy athletic black belt. And at that point, if I had gone against him, it wouldn't have gone well. He would be like the nightmare for me to go against. He's a kid who was a state champ in wrestling from Maryland, and just a ton of speed, a ton of explosion. And I was having trouble with guys like him. And I watched Bernardo go with him online, and I watched the video. Bernardo really did well with him. And the fact, it wasn't so much that he won, he did, but it was how well he was able to control such a speedy, athletic guy with his half guard. And that was the way he did it. So I said, wow, I want to learn from this guy. My instructor was great, but my local instructor doesn't specialize in that. So I called Bernardo to make a video. He already had a commitment, but I said, why don't you come up anyway? And then we became friends. But it's the way how the world has gotten so much smaller. I mean, it used to be probably when you first started wrestling. I mean, I know, Gabe, you were lucky enough. You had a dad who was, I think I read up on him. He was a national runner-up in wrestling.
Yep.
Think about it. You're lucky. You got born into a family where you had we had an incredible wrestler as your dad, who he can give you great instruction. But not everybody has that. I didn't have that. So how is it that now that the world is getting smaller, how could I find that best information for myself, and how can I get it out to people? And I had no idea that it would turn into what it's turned into, but I think that was the basic idea. And now, I mean, the world used to be that you were friendly with the people who grew up on your street, your neighbors. Now, if you look at it, like, we're all talking because we all have the same interests. We all like grappling people.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, in the internet, I mean, obviously making the world a smaller place too, right? I mean,
yeah.
It seems like Fanatics has utilized that. I mean, your marketing alone, you look at you guys' numbers, you got quite a following on all your platforms. How did you do that? I mean, was that just over time or consistency? Like, what's the secret behind it? Because I've met guys in the wrestling world that have tried to start what you guys have started. I've met guys that tried to get into the video space and just did not work out for them well at all. Actually, miserably. They failed miserably at it. And I've seen what you guys have built, and I'm impressed. I'm so impressed by it, and I just want to know: is that consistency over time, or did you just wake up, a week later and you had this following? And I think I know the answer to that, but I wanted to ask you guys.
Yeah, if I had to answer that question, what I would say, like, we are very consistent, and we are doing this since 2014. So now we have like 7 years, and we are not perfectionists, but we try to do the best we can everywhere we go. So, for example, if you think about our platform, we are on every single channel. So we are on YouTube, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we are on even Snapchat. We are lately. We are on email marketing, SEO, direct traffic, and so we really try to potentialize every channel we have and work with the best instructors and be good partners for them, and treat them well. And then with consistency, with time, I think good things start happening, and that kind of stuff.
I would say that. For instance, I think, and the reason we came together is we're big believers, Bernardo and I, in win-win deals. We're looking to make deals with people so that they want to keep coming back and working with us. And we're okay with even paying a little bit, maybe giving a little worse deal than we maybe could get, as long as it adds to some longevity. And so we've been blessed with a lot of, we have very, very little turnover with our workforce. With our guys, we now have, I don't know how many people we have that have over 10 videos with us. And it speaks to, they wouldn't come back for us 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to over 10 if they didn't feel like we were delivering on our end, and we wouldn't do it if they weren't delivering on their end. So I mean, we suck out the best people, and we try to treat them well. And in return, I mean, we've been treated incredibly too by the people we work with.
I can actually speak. I can speak to that actually, just because I've been hired once to come in and do a technique video, and you guys still, take. I mean, the way that you guys write up your deal is, I mean, I don't know, makes guys like me, feel great. It's I couldn't be more thankful for what you continue.
No, we need more with you. I think we need one with Arsen too.
Gabe spoke very highly of his experience that he had with you guys. As you started with the jiu-jitsu videos only, right? And now you have 4 different sports. How did that come about, going from jiu-jitsu to adding wrestling, judo? Is there a boxing one also?
Yeah. I think as we knew that we were in niche industries, right? So at some point we would get like a market saturation. So I think the way to grow would be like expanding the line of products. So we are trying to scale to different sports and different industries, and picking the ones that has like synergy with what we do.
Yeah, I'd say one time we knew that we were really onto it was when we met Kyle the first time. Gabe, was I think it was at the NCAA finals that were in Pittsburgh. Was that probably 2018, maybe?
Yeah, that was not the
19
days ago. So not the last one, not the one before that, but the one before that.
Oh yeah, so probably 2018. So
Yep.
Walking around like the expo there, it was like walking around the world. Bernardo, everyone recognized it, and we kind of thought about it. And we said, "Wait a minute, wrestling's a great sport, but it's not really a great sport to get old with, because you're getting driven into the mat at 100 miles an hour and that kind of thing. But jiu-jitsu is kind of a better sport to get old with." And so, like, for instance, you meet a lot of jiu-jitsu players in the 40s, 50s, no problem, like, because you're just sitting on the mat wrestling around, but there's no high impact. And so we figured out that there were so many ex-wrestlers that are now jiu-jitsu guys, and so we're going to have a ton of overlap, and a lot of their kids are wrestlers. So that became, and we also figured a lot of their kids are strikers, and a lot of them are also strikers. A lot of them are also judo practitioners, and a lot of them really want to learn this stuff. And so that was kind of a natural extension.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
And they also like to lift weights.
What's that?
They also like to lift weights.
No doubt about that. I want to bring Arsen into this too, and I want to kind of go to the background of Nuway for the people that are listening to this for the first time and trying to understand. So we have 2 companies sitting at the table right now, BJJ Fanatics and Fanatics actually. Now they specialize, obviously, as you know, in a ton of different things, but there's also Nuway, which obviously I'm quite familiar with, as my dad was the founder of the organization, and I grew up wrestling in these events. But Arsen, you're the main man in charge of these events now. And Nuway Combat is going through massive changes and now organizing events with multiple disciplines of martial arts at every tournament. Talk about that transition from Nuway as a company's perspective.
I think Mike answered that question for me pretty well from his trip to NCAAs. Both sports go hand to hand so well. I started with Nuway a couple of years ago. We just did 2 jiu-jitsu tournaments separately, kind of see how it would go, and kind of realize how much similarity there is in two sports and how easily they can cross over. So the 2 events we did on its own did well, and I started with Nuway full-time in March last year. So I flew out to Michigan to kind of go over everything, and COVID hit. So we had to take a little pause to begin the tournament. But since we started the Jiu-Jitsu tournament, we've been growing every weekend. Our events have been getting bigger and bigger. And the attraction to it, we figured wrestling can help Jiu-Jitsu so much. So we have average tournament of 2,000 kids. Only maybe 10% of those kids are going to grow up to go wrestle in college. And don't quote me on the statistics on that. But what Jiu-Jitsu will do, so those guys that are watching wrestling, or the wrestlers that are watching Jiu-Jitsu at our event, they're going to watch it. Like after high school, they can't go anywhere else to compete. So it's going to be a really easy transaction for them to jump into their local Jiu-Jitsu gym and participate. So that's going to help us grow. It's going to help grow Jiu-Jitsu with all those wrestlers, because it's the closest thing they can do without beating their body up. The high impact, like Mike said, they won't have that. So that's a really cool thing. When we do our events, all the wrestling parents and wrestlers get around the Jiu-Jitsu mat and start watching it. So we've been getting a great feedback with it. And just like the video company with what BJJ Fanatics has done, we want to add more sports to it. So we started with Jiu-Jitsu as the first one we added on top of wrestling. And second one will be, hoping judo or, something like that, another combat sport.
I saw the event this past weekend in the Poconos, and seems like you guys got a ton of great feedback from that. It was like a spectacle, and I was kind of watching it, and there's branding going on all over the place, and I remember when seeing these tournaments when I was a little kid, right? And these were in like little high school gymnasiums, or it felt like almost in prisons where we were competing. And now seeing them in these venues that you guys are doing these events at is unbelievable. And now in this partnership, which is really what I want to dive into, it just seems like a natural progression to complement the media component of what you do and dive into the physical jiu-jitsu world with these tournament expos. Mike, would you say that it seems to make a lot of sense? But what I want to know, what makes right now the right time to dive into the tournament space?
I think the world's coming back to normal. And we've grown, so much during the pandemic. And I think that what we want to do is partner with somebody. We've been looking to get into this space, and what we want to do is partner with someone who already had a footprint there and help us kind of lay out the vision. Someone who can kind of guarantee to our subscribers, you're going to get the same quality experience that you get on our website, you're going to have in your tournament experience. And we're also going to be able to send some BJJ Fanatics stars to the tournaments, and you're going to get to see them compete. Maybe not at every event, but at a lot of them. And we think we can add some stuff that way. We're looking this is going to be probably one of our biggest avenues to find new video stars. So we're going to be looking everywhere. We're going to be adding prizes. We'll be adding gift certificates. So we're super excited. We think there's some great synergy there.
Absolutely.
From my end of it, with the timing of it, when Gabe came up with this idea for us to have a phone conversation, the first conversation we had with you, Mike, our whole company was like, I felt like I was talking to Dave Dean, our kind of leader of the whole thing, just the way he approaches relationships and how our first conversation went. So the partnership, the relationship seems very seamless to make it happen.
Yeah, we feel the same way. I actually have a question for Gabe. I'm sure you know this off the top of your head. What is your record wrestling in Nuway combat events?
It's not good. I wasn't what you call a blue chip recruit coming out as a youngster. My youth wrestling career is nothing to brag about. My dad was a big component of putting me in very difficult situations over and over and over again and letting me fail so that I could come back and learn from his guidance. I understand the whole process now. But I tell you what, I would never brag about my youth wrestling career.
Really? Because you're a two-time NCAA champion, right? And your dad owns a tournament circuit. I'm guessing you had to have over 1,000 fights or something, right?
I wrestled a ton for sure. I couldn't tell you exactly off the top of my head what.
Yeah, I knew you wouldn't know that.
what my record was, but and I think I'd almost be embarrassed if I did. But the sixth grade, I went 53-2. I remember it to this day. But I know that I took a lot of losses. I'll definitely more probably almost as I did wins actually for
at the very beginning.
Yeah, wrestling is just one of those sports that is just not pleasant when you start it. It's just not. It's not like you got to have some sort of mentor in your life to keep nudging you along, or you just got to be insane to keep doing it. So we
work with a lot of stars. Of course, we work with people in the jiu-jitsu experience, and I think a lot of them had that experience. I think, Bernardo didn't start off just wrecking everybody and as a blue belt, did you?
No, it was a process.
Huh.
Yeah. No, and I remember my first 5 matches, I won 2 or 3 and lost 2 or 3, something like that. And it's kind of the same way in jiu-jitsu. It's hard to. Normally, the ones that does the best in jiu-jitsu are the ones that in the beginning were not very good. That's what I normally see.
So there's a lot of hope for me. I love going to jiu-jitsu practices, and I want to learn the culture and get to know, just really understand the culture, since we offer in the sport at events. And I'll go with somebody half my size, and they'll just lay on your side. It doesn't even seem like they're trying. I'll try to go hard, and then I'll get topped out instantly. Do I go hard? Do I slow down? What do I do? But it's a really cool sport to learn it. And yeah, like Mike said, you can do it much older, where it's hard to drill. I'm 41. I can't really drill
double legs for an hour.
Yeah, it's not just getting lift up and going down.
So we have a ton of Armenians in our store, and they're all tough. Did you grew up in Armenia?
I grew up in Armenia. Moved here when I was 14. My family moved here. So
yeah, there's some pretty good jiu-jitsu and grapplers that we have in the store that are Armenian.
There's Gokor Karakinian. They're from Gokor does a leg lock series. Yep, Hayastan Judo Club.
Yeah,
it's in Hollywood.
And then there's Najmi, who's a real tough kid in California.
I don't know if I know Najmi.
He's good. He's very good. And he's not from Hayastan. And then a lot of they do judo. They're really into leg locks and that kind of thing. Did you learn any of that? Or was it
no, I never did. It's just in Armenia, you stick to, even wrestling, you don't do freestyle Greco. You just stick to one side of the one sport, and that's what you do. You just stick one style of wrestling, and that's.
Now that's not far from Georgia and say
we're right in the middle of Georgia, Azerbaijan. We could border Azerbaijan, Georgia, Russia, and Turkey on the other side.
The local wrestling meets there have got to be serious.
Very serious. Yeah, it was about 10 years ago. I took the U.S. national team there for a wrestling tournament, and it just everywhere you look, Olympic champions, world champions. My first club I went to, we had 6 world champions and 2 Olympic champions, and they're just all working out in the same room. And Armenia is a country of 3 million people.
Wow.
So every male in Armenia does, I say 90% of them do some kind of combat sport, either wrestling, boxing, judo, jiu-jitsu. And I was asked the question, what do the other 10% do? It's like, well, I think they carry around guns.
Yeah.
It's a little joke, but yeah, pretty much everybody does a combat sport there growing up.
Yeah, that's funny.
No, that's amazing.
I know, Arsen, that Mike and Bernardo, you guys have inspired the staff, the Nuway. I'm getting videos of my father in a gi, facing up Dan, who's our CMO, and they're literally doing jiu-jitsu. I don't think my dad understands anything about jiu-jitsu, really, but I think he's learning it. From what I understand, he bought the gis weekends. He's officially in. Yeah.
But in my opinion, that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, because I think it's the only combative sport that you can do when you are really old. So I think the attract a lot of people like that.
Guys, they can be crazy tough.
Yeah.
They're in shape. I mean, and they know this stuff. They're not going to be as tough as a world champion 25-year-old, but they can still be pretty tough.
Yeah.
Dave loves it, so he's been doing it. And Dan Flanick, he actually joined the jiu-jitsu gym yesterday.
Oh, that's amazing.
He went and signed up for it.
That's awesome.
So,
Well, in our company, I'm going to jump in. I wasn't going to, but in our company, I learned over the weekend that if we choke out our boss, we actually get promoted instead of fired. So that's something to train for.
The incentives are a little weird.
That's how Dan's going to get his first bonus.
Oh, that's amazing.
So you guys, your first event that you're partnering together on is Myrtle Beach coming up here in May. It's going to be branded. It's a BJJ Fanatics Jiu-Jitsu tournament, from what I understand. Just at a Nuway Combat Expo. Are you guys gonna be there, or how is that first event working with everybody?
I actually have the schedule here in front of me, and I'm super excited. So there's the Myrtle Beach in May 15 and 16. Then there is the Wisconsin, May 29 and 30. And then Tennessee, June 5th and 6th. So my wife is pregnant and very close to the due date. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't wait to pick one of those and go for sure. And I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, we're in a little bit of a holding pattern with that. I'm looking at my schedule. I'm going to be at one in May or June at the latest. I mean, hopefully if we could all get together and meet up, that would be terrific.
Yeah, I'm coming to that. I mean, I've already seen the signs and the branding going to play and the trophy, the medals and trophies and stuff. And it's so neat. I think it's safe to say that it just makes a lot of sense. This partnership is happening, and the values of both companies definitely align. That was from the first conversation we had. That was evident. I think it's going to have a tremendous impact on the entire combat sports industry. And these events are going to be a spectacle. I think jiu-jitsu is going to go immediately, extremely fast, but I think you're going to have wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo. You're going to have pay-per-view events, from what I understand. I can't. It's going to be hard not where to look. What do I focus on going on right now? We've got so many different combat sports going on at once.
Yeah. Oh, Gabe. And one thing that you guys are doing that now we are doing together is very unique. That I love it is the fact that you guys have the Kinte and the recap if you lose the match, because many times I see jiu-jitsu practitioners going to jiu-jitsu tournaments and coming back very frustrated that they lost in the first match and they can't compete again. So that was an amazing idea to have the recap. And also the Kinte, it's different. I think everybody loved the different experience. So who was that idea? Who came up?
We did. So as we were trying to grow the company on jiu-jitsu side of it to get more participants. Our company on the wrestling side of it does really well with duels. So people like going to our tournaments because we offer duels, and duels is one team versus another. So trying to figure out a way to do the same thing for jiu-jitsu, and that's how we came out with the quintet. So on Saturday, we'll do a quintet tournament, and people can get on average 4 or 5 matches in. And then on Sunday, we have the individual tournament, and it's a double elimination bracket. So they can have another 4 or 5 matches on Saturday. So that's 10 matches a weekend. Yeah. I know it's pretty normal for wrestling to compete that many matches. I know that's not the norm for jiu-jitsu, but I think if people are traveling, and the way our tournaments are set up, destination location, so we kind of encourage long-term traveling. So if they're going to fly across country and they're going to get 7, 8 matches, that's well worth the money that they're going to spend.
Well, this is really well thought, because I think that's one of the biggest frustrations that people have when they go to jiu-jitsu tournaments. It's like, what if I lose in the first match? And then you have another chance, and then you can do the Kinte. So I really, really like it. I wish there was that when I was competing. I would have competed more.
Thank you. Maybe get you out of a retirement for a match.
Mine and Dave's team. And just to give a little clarity on it, it's quintet is technically 5 people, but we cut it down to 3, so it's team duels with 3 because it's just easier. The demographics, mostly like working professionals, it's easier to grab 2 buddies two friends say, hey, come on, let's jump into this team tournament. So it's really 3 people, and you can pick your lineup and be strategic about it in the same way that you would in an actual quintet. Just fits the market a little bit better.
Do we ever tell you about that?
Nope.
So we did one. They never did a second event, but it was done through USC Fight Pass. So we came up. It was the craziest thing. They had a team. They had 3 teams of MMA guys against our team of like grappling, like superheroes, and it was in grappling. So it's sort of like 5 tennis, like 3 tennis teams playing a racquetball team in racquetball. Like the racquetball team is probably going to win. So we had our first guy up. So our team was Lachlan Giles, who was an ADCC open class bronze medalist. We had Nick Rodriguez, who ended up being a silver medalist at the ADCC. Gordon Ryan is the best grappler on earth. Craig Jones, who's like a top 2 or 3, and then Edwin Najmi, the kid we talked about. So the first one that goes out, it was Lachlan, and he went against a guy on the other team. He fights this guy who was an MMA guy, and he was a porn actor. And the porn actor got him in his mat, and his move was the crucifix, which is kind of when you go on someone's back and you get your arm, you hook the guy's arm with yours, and you ended up working that into a choke. And he said it was so tight that he was right about to tap, but he said, I can't tap to the porn actor. So he somehow works his way out. He got out, got the guy in a leg lock, and then he gets the next 4 guys in a leg lock. So we went and just ripped right through their team. And then the next one out was Nick, and so Nick won his first one. Then he had a draw on the second one, and then Gordon got sent out. It was his first match, like first thing back after knee surgery. He just killed everybody, and that was the tournament. But it was funny to watch.
The fans love it. Fans love the quintet format.
It's really interesting. You watch the ones that they put on in Japan. They're incredible. They're spectacles.
I'd have to watch it. For our wrestling fans, I know we're going to have a lot of wrestling fans watching this. It's a duel, but in this format of it, one person can stay in. So you don't switch weight classes. It's not like you start 125 and then 133. So the first person you send out can stay in the whole time as long as they're winning. So it's just a little information for our wrestling fans.
That's crazy.
Awesome. Oh, Arsene, and another thing that I love it too is like how big is the schedule, like, so I can see tournaments like May 15, 16, May 29, 30, June 5 and 6, June 26 and 27. I think that's great for the jiu-jitsu community because I think jiu-jitsu is one of those sports that as much as you compete, better you get in a very fast pace, like, so the fact that you guys are offering, now we are offering so many tournaments, I think that's going to change the jiu-jitsu community a lot.
Thank you. I absolutely believe that. And it's the same in wrestling. It's the same in wrestling. The more you compete, your coaches watch you compete. It's easy to go back, give you a criticism, and help you change and improve.
Well, I just wanted to say this is a beginning partnership. I mean, Nuway Combat is going to 50 events this year, and I know fully they intend to have BJJ Fanatics Jiu-Jitsu at every single one of them. So
we're super excited.
Is there another jiu-jitsu company that offers 50 events in a year? I mean, I don't think so. No. And the locations that you guys are doing them in, and how you're able to keep the cost super effective, provide more opportunities to compete, and what just a great all-around experience. I mean, I know these events, a lot of families make little vacations out of them because they're in places like Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, for sure. And Wisconsin Dells is nice too.
Yeah.
One thing that really struck us about your company too was that we love that you guys have that app that you get the time of when you're going to compete. Because I competed at a lot of tournaments. I have some very low level medals behind me that I've won. But I went to a lot. I was telling Bernardo I probably actually competed at a lot more low level tournaments in the U.S. than he did.
That's true. Yeah.
Because by the time he got here, he was only competing in the high level stuff, and so the worst thing about going there, and I understand, I empathize with the people running it, is that you're going to compete right around 4, and you just don't know, and then all of a sudden you don't know where you're supposed to be. Nothing's online. You're listening, but the speakers don't work. There's all kinds of background noise, and it's just And so we love the fact that you guys have everything so well trained. Everything's computerized. You know where you're supposed to be. You know what time. If the matches get moved up, you're at 4:32 and not 4:37. It's just highly organized, and that's what we want. That's the experience that we wanted to bring to our subscribers.
Yeah.
Right. We've had such a great response, feedback from the jiu-jitsu community at our tournaments. They've been so happy with the way it's ran. And one of the reasons it's ran so well too, we travel with a staff of 35 people to each tournament. So it's the same people that go to all the tournaments. So we know, everybody knows their position. It's not like we'll go to this place and we'll hire some of those high school kids to help us run the tournament. Our staff that's professional, that's been doing this for a long time. It's the same staff that's on the road all the time and just keep improving at the tournaments. And our prices too, that's we're almost half the price of our major competitors on the entry.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, no, Arsene, I can be 100% transparent here. Like, this is something that we always wanted to do, but between us, we were always like, we gotta find the right person, the right partner, the right company to do that.
Because you can't do it halfway.
Yeah, nowadays we have more ideas than we have time. So we were like, we can only do that. It gotta be the right shot, so. When that started happening, we were like, man, these are the guys,
because it doesn't work unless you have a staff of 35 people that all know what they're doing. There's some continuity there, because a lot of the events, what they do is they hire locals, and the locals are, I don't know, listen, I make $200 a day. I mean, if I just go over there, I still make $200 a day. Like, you guys are working as a coordinated unit. Like that's the type of experience that we need to give to people, because if not, we're going to hear about it, like on our pages. We can't let it affect our other business adversely. And that's why we were so happy to with you guys. We're so confident this is going to be a great experience.
Absolutely. We really appreciate this partnership. So we're going to, we're going to add more to the jiu-jitsu side of it as far as organization, hiring more full-time people to make sure jiu-jitsu gets, just keep improving on it, making it better.
Well,
Awesome.
And so something that's really, as we were talking about doing this interview, that kind of stood out to me, was how this partnership really creates this kind of amazing life cycle for somebody who's getting into one of these sports. Like, you have the media where, I just started jiu-jitsu myself, and I'm already on your guys' website, looking how to work on, my Americana and then stuff like that. And I'm like, I want to compete. So now there's a really streamlined way for someone who's starting and probably feels like I do, just kind of catches the bug and just wants to be on the mat all the time, to flow from learning from you to actually being at a tournament. It's a really streamlined life cycle of a customer or someone getting into it. And I don't know if that was thought about, but I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh, this is pretty amazing if you really think about it. It's from teaching all the way to actual competition. It's interesting.
Yeah. Now you have to get Bernardo on your team and enter the quintet tournament. $1,000, get the $1,000 award.
He pays people to do that now. He's still crazy tough, but he pays people to do that now.
I would love to come back and compete again, but the problem is that jiu-jitsu and I think wrestling is the same. If you're not training consistent, your level is not even close to. And then I don't want to show up and do, but I still do jiu-jitsu consistent but not as before, So, but I love jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is literally my entire life,
It's great art.
Yeah. And both infrastructures of the company don't have to change in order for this to be super successful. I mean, it's just focus on what you do really good, and it's an easy merge. It's not you have to change really much. You just have, you're just cross-marketing, using each other's resources to build out these events.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
No, I agree.
Well, I think this is going to be incredible. Like I said, I'm looking forward to going to these events and just seeing all the different combat sports that end up coming of this. I know jiu-jitsu is the first step, but I think there's a lot more to this than just jiu-jitsu in terms of, how recognized Fanatics spaces of other combat sports, and then what Nuway is moving towards in terms of their branding. And just before we wrap up, is there anything that any future teasers that you can let us in on, and who's the next big guest you're going to have on your videos or your fight cards or anything like that? I'm just curious.
We just opened up a second studio, so we're filming 2 studios. We're putting out about 100 videos per month now, all said and done. So we have, so we have a lot going on. We need you back. So right now, so Gordon Ryan is in the studio today. We have Valamont is in the studio today doing wrestling in the other studio. So we're all going to go have dinner later. And then Mr. Bernardo said 7:00 if you can make it. If you can't, no big deal. And then we have John Donaher's in town all next week, and Gordon Ryan's in town. They're talking about the 2 of them kind of sparring together and then narrating the training later, which would be pretty interesting. That's never been done before. Not a lot of people have seen. John's the best seller in our store, and not a lot of people have seen him train. But he's really good. He doesn't. I mean, the problem is he can't go too hard because he's had hip surgery. But it's going to be interesting to watch him going against Gordon. Gordon's told me that he can't get anything done against John, so it'll be interesting.
John is he a professor is he a professor at Columbia as well?
So he was a professor at Columbia, and he's devoted. He left. He was a philosophy professor at Columbia, and he left that because he devoted his life to figuring out how to better hurt people. And I mean, he's a brilliant guy. And he gives theories on this like crazy, and so it'll be interesting to watch. If you've never seen any of his, you can watch him on Rogan. It was really entertaining.
I remember when I came and filmed with you guys, learning all about him because I was so intrigued. He was a professor in philosophy, jiu-jitsu, master, and he's got so many videos with you guys. I can't even. So
for sure.
Well, hey guys, thanks for taking the time, jumping on, and speaking to us about this partnership and what you guys are doing. Arsen, Bernardo, Mike, I really appreciate it, and like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what this brings.
For sure, man.
And it's hard to even wrap my brain around what it could potentially look like.
We're open to new ideas. I think that's what's best about both companies. We're willing to let this go. And at the end of the day, I think we both have the same goal of giving the practitioners the best experience they can possibly have and make them say, "Wow, that was an incredible weekend. We really enjoyed that."
Absolutely. Both companies come from a place that was clear from the start. So.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Gabe, Arsen, and Dan. We're super excited. And if you guys need anything from us, don't hesitate to ask. We are in this partnership here to make sure that we can make a big win-win. And thanks so much.
Same.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I really appreciate your time. Gabe, thanks for having us on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.